All righty, we're back. Why your marketing isn't working like it used to. That's the topic today. We're going to dive in to look at the different tactics that people have been using and figure out like why doesn't it work? Why are people struggling so much? First time here, we are Nate and Simone, and we talk all things marketing. And we go into holistic marketing, right? It's not just about attracting new leads; it's also clients you already have, keeping them happy and turning them into loyal fans. So we have some people in the room. That if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat as we go along, and we will address them as we go. And for you in YouTube land, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like us and share us with your network so that more people can hear what we're doing. All right, let's get started. Hey Nate, let's talk about it.
Hello, hello. Yep, back again for another round here. Okay, so I was telling Simone here today that I recently came across an article and a webinar between the Digital Marketing Institute and a guy named Rand Fishkin. And it has to do with the 5 things that digital marketers should know about digital marketing, specifically going, and this was a year old, 2024. Um, but I think a lot of the information there still holds true today. Obviously, it's only been a year. So, but my gosh, the last 2 years, what has changed, right? So,
Yeah, so much.
the basic idea here is that Rand Fishkin, who is the former CEO of Moz and now the creator of SparkToro, um, his talking about his insights on the state of digital marketing. And I want to link it into the V3 growth system, why all of this matters for small business owners, how it pertains to your visibility, your viability, and building long-term value in your business. All right, so why marketing feels so broken. Let's start there, and what may be really going on. First off, tracking. Tracking is a big deal. When digital marketing first was created, this was the big sell, right? This was the thing that everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! This is a game changer, world shifting creation," right? It allowed you, in theory, to reach out on a mass scale to many hundreds of thousands, of people, but interact with them almost on a one-to-one situation. And um, doing that involved being able to track everything, right? Because it's all digital. The theory was, and when it first started, it was true that you could track almost everything from the start. Um, and as it's gone along, unfortunately, people have kind of caught on to what's going on under the hood with these digital services, especially cookies, in your web browser. I think that was the big one. I remember that being a big deal back in the 90s. Oh my gosh, cookies, what are these things? They're tracking us everywhere. And among other things, of course, but um, these different services started offering ways to shut those cookies off, right? And slowly but surely, there's just been these developments that to the point where now you have Apple that has these privacy protections that are very stringent, really. Um, and
Marketers hate.
it's
Like,
almost a black box now, yeah,
yeah.
with Apple. Um, And yeah, so that has caused a lot of problems. Google and Facebook have both pledged to completely get rid of third-party tracking cookies. However, that has not happened yet, but I think it's still in the works. The plan is to go to first party, for everybody. or nothing at all, I guess. Um, but there's ad blockers out there, so on and so forth. Facebook uh, it's much more difficult to do the retargeting and track people off platform as effectively as it used to. Google Analytics, GA4 is the new iteration of Google Analytics platform. It is uh, often mislabels uh, the traffic sources. It calls everything direct traffic, and you're like left to wonder what that is. If someone hears about you, there's also sort of like what's known as dark social, and where people arrive at your location, whatever, it finds you through various means that are not trackable, such as like somebody drops a link in a Slack group, for example, or they just and then they see somebody mentions your brand in a Slack group, and then they go and type. Well, you don't know that they actually came because of a Slack group, right? So you can't attribute that. So the tracking is all off in that case. And there's, because of the nature of the way the internet is now, there's so many different ways for people to come to find you, right? And it's just like mind-boggling. Um, Another key issue here is that the different platforms, right? The different social media platforms, they are not rewarding outbound links. So if you go to LinkedIn, for example, and you post something on LinkedIn, you are actually punished if you include a link off of LinkedIn. It virtually guarantees that your post is not going to be seen. You know, it instantly gets pushed to the bottom. Um, what they prefer is to like the so-called zero click or native, where people are getting value, and that value is contained in the post itself, and so they're not encouraged to leave the platform. Um, so another problem here is attribution. Um, Attribution is foggy, to say the least. I think I mentioned it earlier, but if someone sees your video on LinkedIn, they hear your name on a podcast, and then they Google your business to fill out a form. Well, where did they come from?
Hmm.
How do you track that? Did they come from, was it the LinkedIn thing, or was it the podcast, or, there's just so many.
Did a friend mention your name?
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, most systems today will actually attribute the lead to Google, which is great for Google, I guess, and reaffirms their stranglehold on the whole thing. But that may not be what actually influenced them. But it's just kind of like, it's kind of lazy, like, oh, it's probably Google. They account for 90% of all web traffic, so it must be them. Um, and unfortunately, it's difficult to make decisions, right? Because if you want to make your decisions about what to do and what to double down on, based on, your click reports and that kind of stuff, um, it's not really the buyer's journey, and so decision making becomes very difficult, in other words. And lastly, everyone is copying each other. So marketing teams are recycling the same templates, the messages and tactics they see in their feeds. There are numerous, like you can go to the Facebook ad library, right, and find out which ads are performing the best, copy that ad, and make it your own. All of a sudden, though, you have all this generic stuff. Everybody else's ads look exactly the same, and so it just becomes a race to who can come up with the most interesting iteration from there, right? Um, but it's kind of like, okay, well, these guys over here are having success, so let's try to imitate that. Let's try to replicate that for our own, right? That's kind of like that's kind of like a no-brainer, easy thing to do, especially now that we have AI, where you can take information, vast amounts of information, feed it into AI and say, what is working well here? And use that information for your own, right? And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, again, it's just kind of like a iteration of the same thing. Um,
It's
and
copying, but faster.
say again?
It's copying, but faster.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh, yes. And it's the whole the cycle of effectiveness is sort of like there's diminishing returns almost instantly. It's like
Yeah.
because of that. Um, and a lot of the a lot of businesses out there are still using what as far as marketing, they're still using what worked 2 years ago, and wondering why nothing is converting, right? Um, and so anyway, generic content blending in and not really standing out. That ends up being the name of the game, unfortunately. And that leaves a lot of people, business owners, asking, is this even working, right? um, so I guess the key to consider here is that being visible has changed, right? But it's not disappeared completely. Um, Anymore, visibility is not just about clicks or likes, which are these so-called vanity metrics, right? But it's also about becoming known in the right places by the right people over time. And then we're starting to get into the idea of relationship marketing there, right? Okay, so why you can't track what matters most in your marketing anymore. I think I mentioned at the top of the call here about the promise of digital marketing, being able to attribute things, right? Unfortunately,
Um,
attribution.
can can I
Oh yeah,
stop
go
you
ahead.
for a second?
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, Everybody, put a one in the chat if you need to know what attribution means.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Do we need
Yeah.
to define that, or are we good?
Any questions about what that might mean? Or
Because I
anybody know
remember
what it means?
for like I've been using the CRM for a while. Okay, so Mecca has stood up and said, yes, I need to know what this means.
All
I
right.
have this the CRM that gives you attribution reports, and for a long time I didn't know what that meant. And so Kathleen says she needs to know too. So tell us,
Okay.
what is attribution?
Right. So, at its root, you're trying to attribute where that lead is coming from. You
Okay.
and the idea is
So
that you
if you are posting on, say you're going to networking meetings every week, you're posting on social media, you're also running ads. And um, the attribution is, okay, did this lead come from my networking? Did it come from the ad? Did it come from my posting on social media? So yeah, you're attributing this lead to a
right.
particular avenue, right?
Back in the early days, there were just a few ways that people could, navigate the internet, right? It was primarily hyperlinks. And so it was
Yeah,
much easier to say, okay, well, for sure, this person came from this location because they clicked on this link, right?
right.
Um, and so it was much
Now
easier to attribute things
it's
back in
harder.
the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's harder now because you
It's not
people
a,
can find you in lots of different ways.
yeah. So one of the examples we have is like somebody read your LinkedIn post, and then they hear you on a podcast 2 weeks later, and then they respond to an email that you have sent them somewhere along the line. But in that case, most tools will only give a credit to the last interaction, which is email or Google search. So that's last click attribution is what that's called. But in reality, it's all of them. You can't really separate them.
Yeah.
Another
So if you're looking at
example,
an attribution report, it's like, okay, the whole idea of having this attribution report is for you to be able to tell which of your marketing efforts is working the best. But
yeah,
if the report can't tell, where this person is actually coming from. Like Nate said, well, they heard you on a podcast, they saw the ad, and they saw your post, and then they did this, then they did the other thing. Well, which one actually brought this lead? We don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes, your company may see a spike in direct traffic after you appear on a popular webinar, or you get a shout out in a Slack group, for example. I think I mentioned that earlier, but none of that shows up in reporting. So how do you attribute it, right? So what the end result is here is that it becomes easy to misjudge what is actually working, and you end up cutting the wrong things. Um,
Mhm.
so anyway, all right. So
That's why I guess they say it's good to start with one platform and,
yeah,
hone in on that one for at least 3 months, get it working, and then add another thing.
yeah, and I think there's there's another popular marketer out there, um, named Ashley Boss. I'll link her info in the chat. She advocates for the concept um, of what she calls playground approach to marketing. So the more complex the thing that you are selling, she says that it is the more important it is for you to have more uh, more ways for people to come into contact with your brand and your message and what you have to say. Um, so go, going off of what Simone just said about starting with one thing, right? Um, the more complex it is, the more important it is for you to be in many different places, right? But obviously that adds more complexity to your situation, right? Um, so anyway, all right. Now, going along with this, having your reputation, referrals, and what is known as dark social, all of these things matter. Um, they're very important nowadays. So as far as the brand, for example, people choose businesses they recognize and trust. That still applies, right? Even if they can't remember where they first heard about them. Um, there's all kinds of things. If you've ever gone to a website and you signed up for something and they say, "How did you hear about us?" Okay. Um, Humans are notorious for not actually remembering the first time that they heard about them. It's usually only the last time, right? That's just
It's
how our
true.
brains work, you know.
Yeah.
And so
Like I
how
don't track
valuable
my
is that?
own
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, right. You're not keeping a diary probably of the last time you saw
Yeah.
this brand, right? Um, so it's really not that effective, in other words. But reputation is still key here, because I think somebody mentioned it. Word of mouth beats almost everything, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, referrals going along with that. Then, obviously, if your reputation is good, then you're going to get more referrals. Having those warm leads can bypass your funnel, whatever funnel you have altogether, and end up being your most profitable. They usually are fewer of those, but kind of depends. And this concept of dark social, I think I've talked about this a couple of times. People are having conversations in direct messages on LinkedIn and Slack, WhatsApp, private groups on Facebook, um, school has another one, I think.
Yeah, school, Go Collab, Circle. There's all these different platforms. A lot of
Mighty
people are
networks.
moving their
Yeah,
groups away from Facebook groups.
yeah,
Um, but So now Facebook can't actually track that, and you can't really set up your retargeting to target those people
Yeah.
in these
Yeah.
outside
But
groups.
nonetheless, it's driving influence, but you can't track it.
It's hard to
But
track.
it's actually shaping people's behavior, right?
Mm.
Um, Unfortunately, people like if a business owner who only relies on what's easy to measure, like the clicks and the traffic and that kind of stuff, you're probably missing out on what's actually working, in other words. So, hey Bethany, how are you? Welcome. Um, so as far as the V3, excuse me, visibility, viability, and value, right? Visibility and viability both require trust. It's not just traffic. I think that's important to take into consideration. Okay, so what do we focus on instead? If all of this stuff seems to be failing. And again, this is all information that's coming from the um, the conversation with Rand Fishkin. And I can uh, link the conversation in the chat if you want to check it out later. I can find it here.
Go ahead. I'll link it because
Yeah,
I've
all right.
got it.
Thanks. Okay, so first off, get just to stay high level here, investing in channels you own, I think is key. There's three different levels of digital marketing channels, right? You have owned, you have paid, and you have earned. So in this case, you want to double down on the channels that you actually own. So that's email, events, partnerships, things that require, a person to be there, right? And that's much harder to fake, I think. Much more concentrated on relationships. Um, so as far as, being more visible, how that applies in this case, using these channels allows you to build more of a direct relationship with your audience. And so you're not really necessarily relying on any kind of algorithmic reach, right? As far as viability is concerned, you control the platforms, presumably, right? Because you own it, the content that's involved, and the cadence. So you direct how many times people are getting those emails, right? In whatever sequence that you built around that. And that makes your marketing system more sustainable in that case. So as an example, email list, live events, those are much harder to measure in terms of clicks and vanity metrics, right? But they end up building your long-term brand equity and drive more conversations around sales and that kind of thing, right? Things that actually matter. Um, so another key thing to focus on is building systems around your follow-up and nurture. I think in our conversation earlier today, we talked about JJ was asking about CRMs, right? This is where CRMs shine. CRMs and automation, marketing automation specifically. So building a system around your follow-up and nurturing. I have read that it takes a minimum of 5 follow-ups. Well, let me rephrase that. If you follow up with someone 5 times, you have beaten out 99% of your competition because most people give up after the first follow-up, if they even do a follow-up. And so, if you're concerned with increasing your conversion rates and obviously your revenue, then it behooves you to focus more on follow-up and making sure that you're doing that. If you have a lot of people to follow up with, however, trying to remember all that can be difficult. So that's where the automation comes in handy,
Information comes in, you know.
Um,
Um, on this note, I wanted to let everybody know that like my biggest client right now came on board with me simply because he kept hearing from me over and over again. I send emails, I send text messages, and just checking in, um, teaching a little something, telling a story, whatever. And, he said, you know what, I'm gonna, somebody else offered the same thing, but I want to go with you because you stay consistent, you stay connected to me.
Yeah.
And, that's very valuable in the
Yeah.
business world. You want to know that the person that you're about to do business with is going to be around,
Yeah. Yeah. And,
whether
the,
you're ready to do business with them or not. Oh, and
yep.
then the other thing too is when you meet people, most of the time they're not ready to buy. Only 3% of the
Right.
people that you network
Exactly.
with or that are leads coming in are ready to buy right then and there. Everybody
Exactly.
else, you need to follow up with.
Yeah.
And usually
Exactly.
over a while. Like this person, this client I was talking about, 2 years. It was two
Hmm.
years before he decided to come on board.
Yeah. And
So
people
it's key.
are, you never know anymore where people are on their journey. It's really difficult because you can't attribute things. You don't know exactly where they came from. It becomes really tricky to figure out where they are in their buyer's journey on their way to you and becoming a paying customer, right? Um,
Hmm.
but that's where it becomes key, going back to the idea of playground approach, creating different levels of content and measuring where people are coming from, those different pieces. But anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think the follow up, not everybody is ready to buy right now, so that's important. Okay. Um,
Hey, I've got a question.
yeah, good.
I've got to go to, I've got another meeting starting here in 15 minutes, but
No problem.
I'm curious right now, as far as my email follow-up, I'm utilizing Aweber.
Okay.
Is there something better out there that you guys use, or is that what you use to do your follow-up emailing, Simone?
I use a system called Biz Greenhouse. It's my white label version of High Level, and it's very customizable, which is why I love it so much. I did try Aweber with a client a while back, and I I remember not really liking it because you had to, in order to do multiple follow-up sequences, you had to kind of duplicate the list multiple times, which means you have to pay for several people on your list multiple times. They're duplicating. So
Well, I'd like to learn
having a
about what
system
you're
where you can
using.
tag people, segment them. Well, sure. Put your information in the chat and we can connect and I'll show you.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
And with I mean, there's there's so many different options available on the market when it comes to CRMs and email, or marketing automation and email marketing and that kind of thing. Um, it can be very overwhelming. I can just say.
I'd like
Uh,
to find something
Yeah, I
that
can.
that is simple to use. That's one thing I don't like about Aweber is it's so dang complicated, I think. And
hmm,
anyway,
yeah,
so I've got to get going. Thank you so much, you guys, for your
yeah,
time and all your information, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.
sure,
So
absolutely. Thanks for joining.
everybody
Appreciate
have
it.
a
All
great day. Do
righty.
good and be good, kids. Hootie woo.
All right.
Great seeing you, Jada.
All right. So as far as like what to focus on, we have investing in channels that you own, so your email, events, partnerships, building systems around follow-up and nurturing, and then creating content that sticks, not just that gets clicks. Okay. So as far as being more visible, if you become known for something valuable, that beats being seen for something trendy at any time, right? That being said, um, there is something to be said for influencer marketing. um, but if if it's and there's a guy named Daniel Priestley. He's a famous marketer, relatively famous. He is really big. He owns what is that called?
Score.
Score
We
Score
own
app.
Score app.
Yeah.
For
He is
assessments and
really
quizzes.
big into quizzes and as a means of segmentation and increasing your email list and that kind of thing. But one of the things he also talks about is being what he calls a key person of influence. And that's what we're talking about here, becoming known for something valuable that you can offer to people, right? Um, Building more value in your business, then if you can create evergreen content. Anybody understand evergreen? Think of an evergreen tree, right? It's always green and growing, right? So it's the same kind of thing.
And the content's always relevant. It's not like
Yes,
based on
always
a
relevant.
holiday, a special
Right.
day, a special
Yeah.
season, or anything like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what we mean by what we mean when we say evergreen.
Yes, exactly.
It's
So
always relevant.
that you can always use it, right? It compounds over time. Again, that's the concept of building authority and trust over time, right? So, as an example, you may want to create foundational blog posts that really talk about what your offer is and dive in deep. Um, and then within the website, then you're linking other blogs to that blog and vice versa. And Google starts seeing that, and that becomes like, oh, okay, this is a very important, piece of content on this website. But people also see that too, right? Your podcast episodes, if you're doing podcasts, that's more of like it can be potentially evergreen content because hopefully it is your at least the main core concepts or stuff that are going to be relevant throughout time. And having educational content can help position you in that role of a guide, right? If you ever heard the concept of consultative sales, that's kind of the idea there. You are educating the customer and leading them and guiding them through the maze, right? Like we were talking just with JJ about
Giving them value
CRMs.
before you sell them.
Yeah, we were just talking with JJ there about CRMs and how difficult that is, right? Because I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever started researching it, there's a lot of options out there, and trying to narrow it down on your own can be time consuming. Um, all right, so the key point here is to just think beyond the concept of a funnel and more about relationships. I think that's important. All right, so systems that convert attention into action. That's key. Okay. Next up, what it means for business owners. So if you are currently chasing tactics as opposed to, having a big strategy first approach, you really should consider strongly zooming out and looking at things from that 30,000-foot view, taking a look at where are all of the contact points that I have out there? Am I managing all of them efficiently? Do I need to pare things down because this thing over here isn't really working for me, et cetera, et cetera? Really, take a look at what's going on under the hood, what's actually working, and that can help you focus. Um, we're not talking about giving up on marketing, obviously, but it's about making better decisions on the inputs that are involved here. Um, the businesses that tend to win are the ones with clear positioning, a repeatable offer, and simple follow-up systems. I think those are pretty key. And there's a lot of gurus out there, marketing gurus and whatnot, that are teaching hacks and this, that, and the other. But really, I think it's more about relationships and concentrating on customer relationships and building those over time. And, it's just one of those things. If you're doing it right, it works really well. But if you're not, then chances are good that you're spending money where you don't need to be. All right. So again, marketing is not dead. Don't worry about that. It's just harder to fake it nowadays. Building trust, having the right timing down, and targeting, knowing exactly who you are going after, where they are, and therefore, what you're going to say where to whom, right? That's the key. All of that matters more than any kind of fancy, tool out there. And so here's a growth stack, if you will, that you can use in your marketing. Having a clear message, a consistent email list, a reliable way to follow up with those emails and those leads, and then creating content that earns attention over time. So if you can do those things, those 4 things, you're going to put yourself ahead, I think, in this case. All right. It's just, it's still, there's still a way to grow your business, right? It's just going to be maybe it's not as linear as it used to be, or trackable for that matter. All right. Any thoughts, concerns, final words before we wrap it up here?
Well,
I can say
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
so listening to you guys, it's really interesting because some of the things you said, I've been trying to apply or I'm already applying, but I don't even know I'm doing it. And so hearing you say that, hearing both of you say it, it's kind of like reassuring that, okay, yes, I'm in the right direction. And hopefully as I, come out here more and listen to you guys, I get to and possibly schedule a call with you guys. I can move, grow the business to where I want it to be. Because now, are we getting the eyes? Yes, the eyes are there. The response we want is not close to where I want it to be. So that's why I'm trying to have that, to move in terms of conversion. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
What? Yeah. Okay. So what is it that you do?
so I'm a graphic designer, but I also make luxury streetwear. So we do that. It's called Lagos Living. So if you have the opportunity, you can look us up. It's been good because the goal, like you said, is the evergreen message. I had that conversation with my partner as well. I was like, I don't want to do trends because trends come and go. I wanted something that was timeless, that 5 years down the line is still relevant. And so that's why our messaging has always been that. And just it's not just for the clicks, but it's more of just to get people to have that mindset and buy into our business, because the goal is not just to sell clothes, it's to sell an idea. And so that's where so that's why I always push for like you said, like I learned today, evergreen content.
Yeah. The thing about, clothing is that there's how many clothing creators out there?
yeah, there's a lot.
There's an endless supply, right? And so it's absolutely critical that you have some way to stand out, right?
True.
And figuring out what that takes, and having it tie into your brand, right? And really, that's the crux of it all, right?
To be honest, it took me a couple of years for me to actually figure it out. And
Yeah.
by the time once I figured it out, and with the help of my team, we did a video that we kind of we play every month almost. We just put it on ad, and that's how we kind of get people to connect with us, because like you said, there's a lot of streetwear everywhere, but we try to push that message. Our goal has always been to not to sell the clothes, but to sell the audience.
Yeah.
We're actually selling you. We're
You have to sell,
you.
yeah, you and your story.
Yeah, we're selling
Um,
food to you. That's the fun. That's what we're trying to do. So like
yes.
our because we did some hats, and with the hats, our goal was to sell because where I'm from, I'm from Nigeria originally. I'm Igbo, so our goal was to sell the Igbo man, just to put him in a positive frame light because
Mm.
he has been somewhat in that negative side, but we're trying to put more light and say, hey, look, this person is, is a positive person that can, when you connect with, have this person in your life, that goes a long way. So we did that, and at a point, people now started gravitating towards it. It goes to a point that even like people, women from where I'm from, they find it hard purchasing the hats because they feel like it's just for the guys only. You understand?
Okay.
So now my dilemma, my challenge now is to create and to also have a message that says, hey, ladies, you also can be part of it. It wasn't just strictly for the guy, kind of.
Well, but if that's who you want to sell to, right? If that is your target market,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with being exclusive, right?
Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
Um,
That's true.
There's
That's true.
lots of brands
yeah,
out there that are women only,
Right.
and
yeah,
it's okay to
yeah,
have a brand out there that
and
is men only.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You can be unapologetically for the guys
Right.
yeah,
if you want to.
You know what? That is very true now because the reality is that I started that particular line and I had this red velvet rope around it, like, and at the point at the beginning, I had people come at me like, "Oh, why? I'm being tribalistic. I'm this." I'm like, it's not about me being tribalistic. This is where I'm from, so I know about it more, and hence why I try to preach to the world that this is my place and you guys should get to know us. That's it.
mm,
If I knew stuff about you, I would do that. But unfortunately, I
mm,
don't. I know stuff about me. So my job is
Mhm.
to advertise myself, my people to the world and say, hey, this is who we are. We're
mm,
cool people, but and you can buy you can wear this just to identify with us, and that's it.
yeah.
So it was a
So
challenge at first when I started.
it might be interesting to get to the essence of you said Igbo man, is that what you said?
Igbo,
What
yes.
what exactly that is,
It's a
and
particular tribe in Nigeria, right? Yeah.
There's a tribe.
So
but but but
yeah,
but
it's like the whole story, the where you're from, the culture, all of that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
really lean into it.
is your intention to only market to people in that tribe in Nigeria, or are you trying to bring this to a wider world audience, or
To be honest, I'm actually going with the United States route. The reason
okay,
why I say that is United States did a very good job of marketing themselves to the world. They made it look like this place is haven, and if you're here,
yeah,
you're safe, you can be whoever you want to be in this world, you can try,
right,
and all of that. So
yes,
I
yes,
I, I decided to go
yeah,
that route and market my people, where I'm from, my origin to the world and say, hey, look, we're cool people. We're people that
yeah,
try. You can, you can rock with us, and if
yeah.
you feel like you have that kind of energy, then you're allowed to come and rock with us. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So you too
I
can
like
be
that.
an Igbo man,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
You too can
exactly.
be
Yeah.
a little
Yeah, you
man.
can be an Igbo man, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it.
And
Yeah,
what
And you
that
yeah.
know
means
what? When you
exactly, yeah.
exclude people, and like it's particularly for like this exclusive type of person, that kind of thing,
Yes.
then it makes people want it that much more.
Hmm.
It's
Uh,
not for
Yeah.
everybody. You
Yeah,
have
so
to be a
talk
particular
about
type of
who is
person to need
not
this.
who is not an Igbo
Yes.
man. Talk about
Talk about
that,
who is not an Igbo man.
Right.
I love
that
it.
might be even more effective.
You know what? Actually, oh my God, that would be a little. It would be really controversial,
Yeah.
but you know what? I don't mind. It's because the truth. It is the truth, though. It is the truth.
Yeah.
And like when I started it and I went that way, I've had actually, Italian guys, people who are not even Nigerians, buy the hats and be like, I like it. I like the energy. I kind of like connect with you guys. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that is what I really wanted because I just wanted a situation whereby when you acquire it, that you don't look like you're appropriating my culture. It just is an
Yeah.
idea. You are buying into the idea because guess
It's a
what?
character trait more than, you're
Yeah.
from here.
Yes. So
Yeah.
exactly. So that's why I try to, push. But I always have that back lash, whatever. Like, oh, you're trying to push it back. I'm like, it's not. It was never about that. It was just about the character traits, who we are, and
Character.
just trying to let you know
Yeah.
that cool. And if you
Mhm.
think you're cool enough to join
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is.
but this is really informative. I gotta hop. But thank you so much. Hopefully,
Okay.
I'll be back for the next
See you
Sure.
next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Hopefully I'll be back. This is the first meeting I've been able to make. And this was just confirmation to me that I need to start an email list. So everything you shared
Yep.
today has been helpful. And so I'll get on starting an email list.
Absolutely. That
All right.
honestly, that is
There you
like the
go.
one digital marketing channel that is not, believe it or
Not
not,
going
as
anywhere.
old as long as it's been around. It's crazy. It's like the
Yeah.
oldest digital marketing channel, but it's still the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right. Take care.
Simone, I just wanted to jump on and say thank you. Thank you
No.
for being consistent. I am your resident USDA certified urban farmer. I have been doing this for a very long time, not farming, but gardening. And it's sometimes a trial, but the fact that I could put you in my ears and listen, this is what I wanted, because meetings are just what they are, right? I said, but there's energy here. There's a level of
Yeah.
consistency. We met some time ago, and I gotta
Yeah,
tell you,
I remember you. We met in person. We met
yes,
at
ma'am.
the at TSP.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. And I just wanted to say thank you, because life is lifing. I said,
Mhm.
but
I hear that.
the best part about it is that good things can happen and do happen, and now you have to put it in front of other people. So I just wanted to say thank you for your consistency. This is the first time I've got an opportunity to just be still and be able to listen. So
Mhm.
God is good.
Okay.
I thank you also, sir. I'm trying to catch
Absolutely.
your name for
Nate.
Nate, for
Nate,
your
yeah. Yeah.
presentation. You affirmed some
Thank
things
you
that
very
I
much.
know. I worked in advertising for a minute, and the one thing about it is just to be consistent. All of these tools and tips and different things they have out here, I think it's good because it makes your life a little easier. But you first got to learn it, which is the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to build out your path and
Yes.
really know
Yes.
what your strategy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to have
Before
something
you
to
really
offer,
jump
you
into the
know.
tools
Exactly.
and figuring out what tool you need for this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yeah. So yeah, I like to call it holistic marketing. That's what I feel like our whole framework is, right? Nate calls it his V3 growth system. What is it? Visibility, viability, value. I call
Yep.
it. Mine is attract, convert, retain. But it's the same thing. It's looking at your business from a holistic perspective. When people talk about marketing, most of the time they're talking about how do I attract new leads, new clients. But people hardly ever talk about how do I delight them, the clients that I already have. How do I build loyalty? How do I turn them into
Yeah.
super fans? How do I keep them coming back? How do I get them to bring other people?
There's no better customer than the one you currently have, right?
Right.
Keeping them
So
around longer is yeah.
that's the key right there. So that's what we talk about, not just getting them, but keeping them. Keeping them
Yep.
and getting them to bring others. So
But
yeah.
I think I think going back to what you just said too, thinking about it as a system, like everything fits. There's a reason why you're doing everything. I think that's the key. You're not. My personal favorite is one of my personal favorite lines is no more random acts of marketing. Okay, that's the thing, right? There's a reason why you're doing everything. You have a strategy behind it. You've thought it through. That's the key.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Absolutely.
all right.
Okay. So thank you everybody for coming. So our to recap, you know, we want to stop chasing what's easy to track, because the things that are easy to track aren't necessarily giving us the information that we need, the numbers that we're looking for as far as the attribution goes. And so it's best to focus on the tools and the platforms that we actually own and can control, like our email list, like our text message list, like our events that we have and where we show up in person. They're not like, they don't really scale, but they do compound over time. And
Partnerships,
right
networking.
now,
Yeah.
yes, partnerships, networking, that kind of thing. Trust is the new traffic right now. So those are the things that we should focus on going forward. And like we were talking about, you know, following up, having that consistent following up, consistent reaching out, engaging with each other, builds that trust. And when you do that, then it's easier to get people to convert and say, okay, yeah, I want to work with you. You've been here, you know. I like you. You stick around. Your message is consistent. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel like you want to figure out what's going on in your business, you feel like you're kind of stuck. There's a link in the chat there. It's called the Growth Ceiling Assessment that allows you to, some questions that you answer, and then you will get a email response with a PDF that has information on the things, some next steps that you can take to try to get to the next level up, right, from where you're at currently. That,
Absolutely.
if you find that helpful.
Okay,
Right.
so I'm gonna
Excuse me.
end our YouTube broadcast here, and if anybody wants to stick around later, you know, to even talk more, we can do that. But if you're on YouTube, put a comment in the chat. Tell us what is your biggest takeaway today, and don't forget to subscribe and share this with others. And we will see you next time.
All
Thank
right.
you, Simone.
Thanks.
Good to meet everybody. Take care.